discuss about the unit John Rawls Justice as Fairness. It is the unit 15 of this course, that is Social and Political Philosophy, and the model number is model 12. Before going to this unit, I just want to tell you that this unit will be distributed into 3 videos. In the first video, we will discuss about the introduction of John Rawls' concept of justice. Okay. Now, before going to discuss today's video or today's lecture, we will first give you a general learning objectives of the whole unit. Now, after going through this unit, you will be able to know what is the meaning of justice, why justice is necessary for society, what is just distribution, how Rawls explained about justice in his theory of justice, and what are the criticism has made against Rawls' theory of justice. Now, whenever we are saying about justice, justice has a spatial interpretation. But here we'll give a special emphasis on the concept of justice as given by John Rawls. Now, so far as John Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, we'll first find his concept of justice in the book A Theory of Justice, which can be regarded to be the fundamental work in political philosophy and ethics. Now, so far as this particular book is concerned, we'll find that this particular book is offering a novel approach to the problem of distributive justice. Rawls builds up in the tradition of social contract theory to propose a framework known as justice as fairness. Now, this particular book, that is A Real Theory of Justice, was for the first time published in the year 1971, and he has further revised his book in the year 1975 and 1999. This particular book has profoundly influenced contemporary debates on justice, fairness, and the role of institutions in ensuring an equitable society. Now, if we see Rawls' justice, we'll find that primarily Rawls' objectives is to reconcile the often conflicting values of individual liberty and social equality. Now, we'll also find that Rawls has criticized utilitarianism, which has long dominated moral and political thought. For why he has criticized utilitarianism, according to him, so far as utilitarianism as a theory is concerned, it always tries to focus on maximizing overall happiness at the potential expense of individual rights. Instead, he argues that justice should be based on fairness in the distribution of rights, opportunities, and resources, ensuring that no individual or group is unfairly disadvantaged by arbitrary social or economic conditions. At the core of Rawls' theory are 2 fundamental principles of justice. The first principle asserts that each person should have an equal right to a set of basic liberties, including freedom of speech, political participation, and personal property rights. This principle prioritizes individual freedom and ensures that no one is deprived of fundamental rights in the pursuit of social or economic goals. That means, so far as Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, we'll find that he has given emphasis on the freedom and equality of each and every individual of the society. Now, if we see the second principle, we'll find that he often referred to as the difference principles, and it states that social and economic inequalities are only justifiable if they work to the benefit of the least advanced members of society. Additionally, these inequalities must be attached to the positions and opportunities that are often to all under conditions of fair equality and opportunity. Rawls derived this principle through a thought experiment which is known as the original position, where he tries to show that rational individuals are asked to determine the principles of justice that should govern society. Okay. Now, so far as Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, we'll find that he has given emphasis on the concept of rationality or one's person's capacity to use the reason. Now, to ensure impartiality, Rawls introduces the concept of veil of ignorance, which requires these individuals to make their choices without knowing their own social status, class, gender, race, or personal characteristics. This ensures that no one can create principles that favor their own specific circumstances, leading to a system of justice that is truly fair for all the persons of the society. Now, so far as this particular theory, that is the justice theory of Rawls, is concerned, it is found that the influence of Rawls' theory extends far beyond philosophy, impacting law, economics, and public policy. His arguments provide a moral and philosophical foundation for policies aimed at reducing inequality, improving fair political representation. Many contemporary discussions of justice, from debates on income redistribution to affirmative actions policies, drawn upon Rawls' principles to justify institutional intervention designed to level the playing fields. Now, if we'll see, or if we'll give emphasis on the critics of Rawls' theory, we'll find that critics of Rawls' theory particularly argue that his principles may be too idealistic or impractical for real-world application. Now, some libertarians contend that his emphasis on redistributive justice undermines individual property rights and personal autonomy. Others, such as communitarian philosophers, they have argued that his framework overlooks the importance of cultural and historical context in shaping justice. Despite these criticisms, A Theory of Justice, which is written by John Rawls, remains one of the most influential works of modern political thought, providing a rigorous and compelling argument for a fair and equitable society. Now, if we'll give emphasis on Rawls' idea, we'll find that his ideas continue to shape discussion about the nature of justice, fairness, and the moral responsibilities of institutions, reinforcing his legacy as one of the most significant political philosophers of the 20th century. Now, justice is a fundamental concept of moral and political philosophy. Okay, and so far as this particular concept, that is justice, is concerned, we'll find that it often defined as a principle by which central moral standard in social life and plays a crucial role in guiding legal systems, social institutions, and ethical behavior of individuals. Now, justice ensures that individuals are treated equitably and that resources, rights, and responsibilities of the individuals are distributed according to fair principles. Now, throughout the history, if we'll see, or if we'll given an analysis of the history, we'll find that different societies and philosophers, they have always tried to develop various interpretations of justice, shaping how it is applied in legal, political, and social context. Now, justice is a fundamental concept in moral and political philosophy, and it always defined as the principle by which fairness is administered in society. Now, if we'll see the concept of justice, we'll find that justice is something which is a central moral standard standard in social life, and it is something which plays a very, very crucial role in guiding legal system, social institutions, and ethical behavior of individuals. Again, if we'll give emphasis on justice, we'll find that it ensures that individuals are treated equitably and that resources, rights, and responsibilities are distributed according to fair principles. Throughout the history, it is found that different societies and philosophers have always tried to develop various interpretations of justice, shaping how it is applied in legal, political, and social context. Now, if we'll give emphasis on the dual nature of justice, we'll find that so far as the particular concept called justice is concerned, it is traditionally divided into two broad categories. Okay, one category is called formal justice, which is we usually call legal justice, and the other is the material justice, which we can say moral or political justice. Okay, now formal justice or the legal justice refer to the administration of laws and legal principles, and it always ensures due process and impartiality in legal proceeding. It is primarily concerned with procedural fairness, ensuring that individuals receive equal treatment under the law. Now, if we see the legal system, then we'll find that it upholds formal justice by implementing laws and dictate how disputes are resolved, how punishment is administered, and how rights are protected. Now, if we see the formal justice, we'll find that it operates under the principles that the law must be applied consistently and fairly without bias or favoritism. Now, on the other hand, if we'll see what is about the material justice, or if we'll see what is material justice, we'll find that material justice always tries to concern broader ethical and social issues, and it always tries to include economic distribution, social equality, and human rights. Again, if we'll see about or if we'll study about material justice more elaborately, then we'll find that this particular form of justice is rooted in moral philosophy and political theory, and it always emphasizes fairness in the allocation of wealth, opportunities, and privilege to each society. Now, so far as material justice is concerned, it seeks to address systematic inequalities and promote social welfare by ensuring that resources and rights are distributed according to need and merit rather than arbitrary factors such as race, gender, or socioeconomic status. Now, again, if we'll see, we'll find that while some theorists treat these two types of or two forms of justice as distinct, others argue that legal justice and social justice are closely intertwined. Legal systems, after all, shaped by moral and political value. So, in the broader sense, if we'll see, then we'll find that so far as formal justice or legal justice and material justice is concerned, they are interrelated to each other. It is not the case that one is totally separate from the other. Now, if we'll see the legal and social justice, we'll find that legal or criminal justice primarily focuses on the punishment of wrongdoers and the maintenance of law and order. It involves enforcing laws that define acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, and it always tries to ensure that those who violate these laws are held accountable. Legal justice seeks to protect individual rights, uphold contracts, and provide remedies for those who have been wronged. Now, the principles of fairness, impartiality, and the due process are fundamental in legal justice. And it always ensures that all individuals, regardless of status, are subject to the same legal standard and protections. Now, if we'll see the social justice, on the contrary or in contrast, we'll find that social justice is concerned with the fair allocation of opportunities and resources in society. It encompasses issues such as economic inequality, discrimination, access to education and healthcare, and the rights of marginalized communities. Social justice advocates and argue that all the societies should work to eliminate structural barriers that prevent equal participation and opportunity for all members. Policies that promote social justice often involve redistributive measures, affirmative actions, social welfare programs designed to reduce disparities and enhance social mobility. Despite their differences, both forms of justice share common principles such as fairness, impartiality, and due process. A just society requires a balance between legal and social justice, ensuring that laws reflect moral values while also protecting individuals' freedom and promoting social being. By addressing both legal and social dimensions, justice serves as the foundation for a fair and equitable society. Now, if we see the justice in practice and its applications and implications, we'll found that so far as Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, Rawls' ideas have profound implications for public policy, economic systems, and governance. His principles always suggest that policies should aim to improve the situation of disadvantaged individuals rather than merely upholding the status quo. Now, so far as this particular principle is concerned, we can give some examples, and examples of such policies include progressive taxation, social welfare program, universal health care, and affirmative actions. These policies also seek to level the playing field by ensuring that individuals born into less privileged circumstances will have opportunities to success. Now, again we'll see that justice and economic distributions have a relation. Now, one of the primary applications of Rawls' theory is in economic justice. The difference principle supports economic structures that ensure a fair distribution of wealth while allowing for incentives that encourage productivity and innovation. Now, this perspective challenges laissez-faire capitalism, which often leads to significant disparities in wealth and social status. Now, instead, Rawls' framework advocates for a regulated economy that prioritizes the welfare of the least advantaged. Again, justice also has a relationship or have something to do about healthcare. Now, healthcare is another area where Rawls' principles have been widely applied. A just healthcare system should provide equitable access to medical services regardless of an individual's socioeconomic status. Now, under Rawls' framework, healthcare should not be a privilege of the wealthy, but a fundamental right that benefits all members of the society, particularly the disadvantaged. Number 3, where the Rawls theory of justice can be applied is education. So far as education is concerned, you'll find that it is key mechanism for ensuring social mobility and reducing inequality. Now, Rawls theory supports educational policies that provide equal opportunities for all individuals regardless of their backgrounds. This includes initiatives such as public education, funding, scholarships for underprivileged students, and policies that address systematic disparities in educational quality. Again, we'll find justice has a relationship with criminal law. Criminal justice should be guided by principles of fairness and impartiality, ensuring that all individuals are treated equally under the law. Rawls' theory challenges racial and economic disparities in law enforcement, advocating for a system that does not disappropriately disadvantage marginalized communities. So, this is in brief about the introduction of the concept of justice of Rawls. Now, we'll find that Rawls also has to face some criticisms for his theory. Now, we'll discuss shortly the criticisms of Rawls' theory. Now, whenever we'll see about Rawls' theory of justice, we'll find that it outlined in a theory of justice in the year 1971. Now, where in that particular book, Rawls has a profound impact on political philosophy, providing a framework for thinking about fairness and equality in society. However, his theory has not been without criticism. Scholars and philosophers from various schools of thought have raised concerns about the feasibility, ethical implication, and applicability of Rawls' principles, particularly the two central tenets, the liberty principles and the difference principles. One of the most prominent critique comes from libertarians, particularly Robert Nozick. In his book Anarchy, State and Utopia, which was written in the year 1974, Nozick argues that Rawls' principles of justice infringe on individual freedom, especially concerning property rights. According to Nozick, individuals have the right to accumulated wealth and dispose of it as they see fit, provided they do it with the proper just means. Okay. Now, if he further contends that any form of redistribution of policy such as taxation aims at reducing inequalities amounts to a form of coercion that violates personal autonomy from society. Now, from a libertarian standpoint, Rawls' focus on redistributive justice disregard the moral significance of voluntary exchanges and the legitimacy of acquisitions made through free market mechanism. For Nozick, a just society is one where individuals are free to engage in transactions without government interference as long as their holdings are just acquired and transferred. Another major criticism which has seen in this context is come from the communitarian thinkers such as Michael Sandel, Charles Taylor, and MacIntyre. Now, communitarians argue that Rawls places excessive emphasis on individual choice and rationality, and he has somehow neglected the role of cultural traditions, community values, and social relationships in shaping human identity and moral reasoning. Now, Rawls' original position, in which individuals choose principles of justice from behind a veil of ignorance, assumes that people are primarily rationalists who prioritize fairness without considering their embeddedness in historical and cultural context. However, communitarians believe that justice must be informed by the shared values and communal bonds that define societies. For instance, Sandel critiques Rawls for assuming that individuals can abstract themselves from their social and moral commitments where deliberating on justice. He argues that our sense of justice is deeply intertwined with our cultural and communal experiences, making Rawls' ideas of impartial decision making unrealistic. Now, beyond libertarian and communitarian critics, some scholars challenge Rawls' framework for its limited scope concerning global justice. Rawls' principles primarily focus on justice within a single society, leading critics to argue that his theory does not sufficiently address international inequalities, issues of global poverty, and transnational obligations. In the book Laws of Principle, which was written in the year 1999, Rawls extend his ideas to the international realm but maintain that principles of justice primarily apply within nation states. Critics such as Thomas Bock and Amartya Sen argued that his approach inadequately addresses the moral and economic responsibilities that affluent nations that have towards impoverished regions. They contend that in an increasingly interconnected world, justice cannot be confined to national borders and must include considerations of global economic structures, human rights, and fair trade practices. Now, so far as feminist theories are concerned, they further argues that they have raised a concern about Rawls' approach to justice that his principles do not sufficiently address gender inequalities. While Rawls' framework that it does not explicitly account for the historical structures, disadvantages faced by women and marginalized groups, scholars such as Susan Moller-Okin point out that Rawls' theory does not adequately engage with issues such as unpaid domestic labor, caregiving responsibilities, and the systematic barriers that women face in both the private and public spheres. By failing to address gender as a fundamental axis of inequality, Rawls' framework is seen as insufficient in addressing the lived realities of social justice. So, on the basis of the above discussion, we have finally come to the conclusion of this video, and in a conclusion, it can be said that justice is a complex multifaceted concept that plays a crucial role in shaping societies. Rawls' theory of justice provides a powerful framework for understanding and addressing issues of fairness, particularly concerning economic and social inequalities. Now, so far as Rawls' concept of justice is concerned, his difference principle challenges traditional notions or meritocracy and utilitarianism by advocating for structures and prioritize the well-being of the least advantaged. Now, if we see Rawls' theory, we'll find that Rawls' vision of justice as fairness has inspired policymakers and philosophers to rethink how institutions can create more equitable societies. Now, despite its influence, Rawls' theory has faced substantial criticisms from various perspectives. Libertarians challenges its redistributive policies as unjust limitations on personal freedom and property rights. Communitarian argues that Rawls underestimate the significance of social and cultural context in shaping justice. Others criticize his framework for its lack of attention to global justice and gender equality. These critics highlight the limitations of Rawls' approach and suggest that the need for a broader, more inclusive concept of justice thus accounts for diverse experiences and moral consideration. Nevertheless, Rawls' contribution of political philosophy remains invaluable. His emphasis on fairness and equal opportunities and the moral obligations of institutions continues to shape contemporary debates on justice. Now, moving forward, we'll find that policymakers, philosophers, citizens must engage with these ideas to create systems that uphold fairness and promote social justice for all. Now, by addressing the criticisms of Rawls' theory while building on its strength, societies can work towards more just and inclusive framework that reflect the complexities of the modern world. So, this is in brief about the introduction of the Rawls concept of justice. Now, we'll have another 2 videos. In those 2 videos, we will discuss this particular unit in more elaborate way. Thank you so much.